We'll start today doing some level setting and begin to introduce a few foundational resources from CCSSO and the CEDAR Center that we'll dig more deeply into over the course of our time together. The professional standards for educational leaders were released in 2015 by the National Policy Board for Educational Administration. Those are foundational to our work at CCSSO, and our inclusive principal leadership work in partnership with CEDAR is really grounded in and builds from the PSEL standards. So we worked collaboratively with NPBEA to update the standards for educational leaders, which refresh the previous standards, which many of you might be familiar with, the Interstate School Leaders Licensure Consortium standards, and really emphasize the principal's role not only as building manager, but also as an instructional leader. Many of you are likely already familiar with the PSEL 2015 standards, but wanted to dig a little bit more deeply into them today and ground our conversations around inclusive leadership in the standards. We know effective principals are particularly important for success of students with disabilities. And when principals create welcoming, supportive learning environments, students with disabilities are really able to thrive. And so, as a supplement to PSEL, last year, CCSSO, along with our partners at the CEDAR Center, released together PSEL 2015 and promoting principal leadership for the success of students with disabilities. And this is not separate from the PSEL standards, but rather is a supplementary guidance document that outlines key steps aligned to the PSEL that states can take to better support their students with disabilities through both high expectations and appropriate support, and can be used to support the preparation and practice of principals to lead for the success of students with disabilities, including those identified to receive special education services and the unidentified who are in general education classrooms for the majority of the time. So this document can be used to ground both policy and practice reform. There are 10 PSEL standards which this document builds from to emphasize the key knowledge, skills, dispositions, and practices that effective leaders of inclusive schools implement. So these are the 10 PSEL standards here up on the screen. Our work around inclusive principal leadership is really rooted in the foundational document referenced previously. And we've heard resoundingly from the education community, state, and school leaders themselves that this document is so needed to support principals in leading inclusive schools for students with disabilities and to effectively support and retain both general and special education teachers. While all 10 of these standards are important for inclusive principal leadership, I wanted to highlight and hone in on 3 in particular today. The first is Standard 5 around communities of care and support. So this standard emphasizes leaders' responsibility to really build and maintain a safe, caring, healthy, and welcoming learning environment that meets the needs of each child. This guidance document highlights how effective inclusive principals ensure that students with disabilities have opportunities to learn alongside their non-disabled peers to the greatest extent possible, that they promote inclusive environments that foster a sense of acceptance, care, safety, and belonging, both among students as well as among students and teachers. And they support all teachers as they create positive inclusive environments that respond effectively to the needs of each learner. And then finally, related to that last point, supporting teachers, I'll highlight Standard 6, professional capacity of school personnel. This standard focuses on leaders' work to recruit, hire, support, develop, and retain effective teachers of students with disabilities, as well as non-instructional support staff. The guidance document articulates that effective inclusive principals promote collaboration among effective special education and general education teachers. They provide multiple sources of high quality, meaningful professional learning opportunities for teachers around such things like high leverage and evidence-based practices and culturally responsive practice. They identify strategies to motivate, recognize, and distribute leadership among their staff who are particularly effective with students with disabilities through things like teacher leadership and advancement opportunities, and just all in all promote the effectiveness of all staff in their building to ensure the success of students with disabilities. So these are just 3 of the standards we'll highlight today. Moving on, shortly after releasing this foundational document, CCSSO held, in collaboration with the Cedar Center and our partners at the Center on Great Teachers and Leaders, a collaborative meeting of 32 individuals representing OSERs and OSEPs, as well as OESE-funded technical assistance centers and national organizations, to discuss the critical role of the principal in promoting equitable learning environments for students with disabilities. And that PSEL foundational guidance document, along with other resources from CEDAR, grounded the discussion. And each organization made specific commitments for how they'll move inclusive leadership forward in policy and practice and support state and preparation programs efforts in this area. We didn't want to stop at the release of the document or just one meeting. And so in order to sustain and build upon that collective work, we launched the National Collaborative on Inclusive Principal Leadership to support states' efforts on really integrating inclusive practice into policies and practices across the principal's career continuum, again, from initial preparation to ongoing development. And the collaborative is a diverse alliance that includes the following principal associations, member organizations, technical assistance centers, researchers, educator preparation programs, and nonprofits, convening and working together with the partners via the National Collaborative release, supporting inclusive schools for the success of each child. The link to the site is up on the screen, and this is a guide that builds upon that PSEL document referenced earlier and provides 8 strategies states can take to integrate inclusive principal leadership in policy and practice, along with some accompanying resources across these organizations, again, aligned to that foundational PSEL resource. So these organizations, whose logos appeared on a previous slide, partnered together over the past year and provided their time, resources, and collective expertise to develop the strategies and actions and accompanying resources included in the guide. And it would really not be possible without the collaboration of CCSSO and CEDAR and this diverse alliance of organizations, and without the support of the U.S. Department of Education through our partnership with CEDAR, as well as the Oak Foundation.